received a letter in jail from 8 heads of 8 churches challenging his decision of direct action and his right to be in Birmingham at all. These are quotes from his response letter and a few quotes from Martin Luther King's more famous speeches.
The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people.
I must make 2 honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the last few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate.
I've almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice.
Who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice. Who constantly says, I agree with you on the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action.
Who paternalistically feels that he can set the timetables for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of time, who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient season.
Sheer understanding from people of goodwill is much more frustrating than complete misunderstanding from people of ill will.
Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection.
The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at moments of challenge and controversy.
Things are different now. The contemporary church is so often a weak, ineffective voice with an uncertain sound. It is so often the arch supporter of the status quo. Far from being disturbed by the presence of the church, the power structure of the average community is consoled by the church's often vocal sanction of things as they are.
But the judgment of God is upon the church as never before. If the church of today does not recapture the sacrificial spirit of the early church, it will lose its authentic ring, forfeit the loyalty of millions, and be dismissed as an irrelevant social club with no meaning for the 20th century. I meet young people every day whose disappointment with the church has risen to outright disgust.
August 23rd, 1963. 200,000 people gathered in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. to hear one man talk about his dream of a better America, a different America. He spoke about the possibility of a place where all would be treated at the same level and none would be discriminated against for the color of their skin. This speech would be remembered as one of the most inspiring and influential speeches of the Civil Rights Movement. It encouraged and excited the nation, giving people a picture of what the world could look like. The declaration was warmly received by the watching crowd, one of these viewers being Mahalia Jackson, invited by King himself to sing before he began speaking. Mahalia Jackson, who had been singing in the church since the age of 4, was renowned for her voice. One of her songs, Move On Up a Little Higher, was a hit in 1947. It would go on to become one of the best-selling gospel songs of all time, earning her the title, the Queen of Gospel Music. In 1956, she attended the National Baptist Convention, where she first met Martin Luther King Jr. King invited her to several events, including multiple speeches of his, at which he asked her to sing before he spoke. In 1963, he asked her to sing in D.C. for the Washington March for Jobs and Reform. She performed I Have Been Buked and I Have Been Scorned in front of all attending and set the mood that would lead to King's prepared speech. Contrary to popular belief, King's original notes held no mention of a dream. This was an idea he had only mentioned to close friends and advisors, including Jackson. He considered adding his dream somewhere, but was advised against it and had no plans to bring it up in Washington. Jackson, aware of this, waited for her friend to finish, and all was silent. Then she yelled out, "Martin, tell him about the dream," prompting him to improvise the entirety of his revolutionary and world-changing speech. Mahalia Jackson was not only one of the most inspiring people in Martin Luther King's life, but also in the lives of the anxious Black community yearning for a change in America. Now, the 8th grade will perform Deep River on their recording. Deep River is a melody or tune written in the darkest of times of the Civil Rights Movement. Enslaved people would sing it as they worked, as a positive light in the harsh reality of their life. They would use it also as a code to tell other slaves if they were escaping or planning to escape. The lyrics are, "Deep river over Jordan, I want to cross over into campground." Crossing over into campground, and in some words, crossing the river fire, is a metaphor to crossing over the threshold into heaven or a better place.